The council chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal floors. Representatives from 200 species sat in their designated sections, each area marked by glowing symbols in the air. Commander Velrith stood at the center platform, his forearms spread wide in what his species considered a gesture of confidence. "Members of the Galactic Council," Velrith began. His voice translated instantly into every language present. "The Thoric Empire requests permission to claim the 3rd planet in System Sol 3846. The inhabitants call it Earth." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Small species whispered to each other. Larger ones shifted in their seats with interest. Council leader Mothar, a being made of flowing energy contained in a transparent suit, spoke. "Commander Velrith, our scouts reported intelligent life on that planet. They have cities, technology, and weapons. This is not a simple resource acquisition." Velrith's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his kind. "With respect, Council Leader, I have reviewed the data myself. These humans have barely left their own planet. Their fastest ships cannot even reach their neighboring worlds. They fight among themselves constantly. They have over 190 separate governing bodies, all disagreeing with each other." He activated a hologram. Images of Earth appeared above the platform. Cities with primitive buildings, vehicles that moved on wheels, aircraft that needed fuel and physical wings to fly. "Look at this," Velrith continued. "They still burn fossil fuels. They have nuclear weapons, but cannot even agree on when to use them. Their planet is rich with resources we need, and they waste them on conflicts with each other. The Thoric Empire can bring order to this chaos." A small insect-like delegate from the Charn Collective raised one of her 6 limbs. "The rules are clear. We do not invade planets with intelligent life." "Intelligent?" Velrith's voice carried across the chamber. "They send messages using electricity through wires. They die from diseases we cured 10,000 years ago. Their average lifespan is less than 100 of their years. They are barely above animal intelligence." More murmurs. Some species nodded in agreement. Others remained silent. Mothar's energy form pulsed slowly. "What does your military assessment say?" 500 ships should be more than sufficient," Velrith replied. "Their most powerful weapons are chemical rockets with explosive warheads. Our shields can deflect those easily. Our projections show complete control within 72 hours. Minimal resistance expected. What if they unite against you?" asked another delegate. Velrith's mandibles clicked again. "Have you seen their history? They cannot unite. They fight over imaginary lines on their planet. They fight over resources. They fight over ideas. Even now, their major powers are competing with each other instead of working together. Unity is not in their nature." The debate continued for 2 hours. Species after species voiced opinions. The smaller civilizations worried about setting a precedent. The larger empires saw opportunity. Earth had water, minerals, and biological diversity that could be valuable. Finally, Mothara called for a vote. The chamber fell silent. Each representative cast their decision through their neural interfaces. The results appeared in the air as glowing numbers. "The vote is decided," Mothara announced. "The Thoric Empire is granted permission to claim Earth under Resource Acquisition Protocol 7. The native population must be offered the option of integration into the Empire. Unnecessary casualties should be avoided." Velrith bowed, his forearms crossing over his chest. "The Empire thanks the Council. We will be merciful in our conquest." As the Council dismissed, smaller species exchanged worried glances. The Churin delegate approached Mothara privately. "This feels wrong," she said quietly. "These humans may be primitive, but the reports show something unusual about them." "Unusual how?" Mothara asked. "They survived multiple extinction-level events on their planet. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions. Most species would have died out. They adapted. Every time. Mothara's energy pulsed thoughtfully. The vote is cast. We can only observe now. 3 days later, the Thoric invasion fleet gathered at the edge of their territory. 500 warships, each carrying thousands of soldiers. Varus stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars stretch into lines as they entered faster than light travel. "Commander," his tactical officer said, "we will arrive at Earth in 17 days. "Good," Velrith replied. "Have all squadrons reviewed the invasion protocols?" "Yes, Commander. Ground forces will secure major population centers. Orbital bombardment will target military installations only. The humans will see our power and surrender quickly." Velrith looked at the hologram of Earth spinning slowly before him. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. A beautiful planet, primitive and undefended. Soon it would belong to the Empire. "They chose the wrong time to exist," Velrith said to himself. "In another 1,000 years, they might have been ready for the galaxy. But now? They are simply resources waiting to be claimed." The fleet jumped through space, crossing light years in days. Behind them, the Galactic Council returned to their usual business. Trade agreements, border disputes, technology exchanges. The Earth situation was filed away as a minor acquisition. Nobody expected what would happen next. Nobody except perhaps that small Churan delegate, who sat in her quarters reviewing every piece of data about humanity she could find. The more she read, the more her concern grew. These humans had a saying she found in their cultural database. "We did not survive by being the strongest. We survived by refusing to die." She sent a private message to Mothara. We should have studied them more carefully. But it was too late. The fleet was already on its way. Captain Taiho pulled his fighter into a steep climb, the G-forces pressing him hard into his seat. Through his canopy, he could see them. Hundreds of ships, each one larger than any building on Earth. They filled the sky like a second moon, blocking out the sun over the Pacific Ocean. "Dragon Squadron, hold formation," his radio crackled. "Wait for targeting lock." Taiho's hands were steady on the controls, but his heart hammered in his chest. 2 days ago, these alien ships had simply appeared. No warning, no communication. They broadcast a message in perfect Korean, English, Mandarin, and 50 other languages. "Surrender your planet. Resistance is pointless." Earth's governments had not surrendered. They had launched everything they had. "Missiles away," someone shouted over the radio. Taiho watched as 24 missiles streaked upward from naval ships below. They were the best Earth had. Nuclear-tipped, hypersonic, designed to destroy anything humans could build. The alien ships didn't even maneuver. A rippling field of blue light appeared around them. The missiles struck the shields and simply disappeared in small flashes. No explosions. No damage. Nothing. "All units, break and attack," the squadron leader ordered. Taiho dove toward the nearest alien ship, his fighter's guns blazing. Tracer rounds lit up the sky. He could see other fighters doing the same. Hundreds of aircraft from dozens of nations all attacking together. For once, humanity was united. It didn't matter. The alien ship rotated smoothly. A beam of red light swept across the sky. Where it touched, fighters exploded. Taiho pulled hard left, feeling his fighter shudder. 3 of his squadron were gone in seconds. "They're too strong," someone screamed over the radio. "We can't even scratch them." Taiho targeted what looked like a weapon pour on the massive ship. He fired everything he had. The rounds hit the hull and bounced off harmlessly. His fighter shook as something exploded nearby. "Dragon leader is down. All units retreat." Taiho pulled away, his fuel warning light flashing red. Around him, the sky was filled with debris and smoke. The alien fleet hadn't even moved. They hung in the air like floating fortresses, swatting away Earth's best weapons as if they were insects. He made it back to base with a handful of other survivors. As he climbed out of his fighter, he saw Admiral Hyan standing on the tarmac, watching the sky with cold eyes. "How many?" Hyan asked. "We lost 60% of the squadron, sir," Taiho reported. "Our weapons don't work. Their shields are too strong." Hyan nodded slowly. He was an old man with gray hair and a face that had seen many wars. The Americans, Russians, and Chinese report the same. "We can't touch them." At the Seoul Aerospace Research Center, Dr. Hannah stared at her computer screens. She had been analyzing data from the failed attacks for the past 6 hours. Around her, other scientists worked frantically, trying to find any weakness in the alien technology. "Their shields operate on a rotating frequency," she said to her assistant Minho. "Our weapons hit, and the energy is just absorbed and dispersed. Can we adjust our weapons to match?" Minho asked. "Not fast enough. They cycle through thousands of frequencies per second. By the time we lock onto one, they've changed." On the screens, news feeds showed alien ships landing in major cities. Seoul, Moscow, New York, Beijing, London, Cairo. The pattern was the same everywhere. First, orbital bombardment destroyed military bases. Then ground forces landed in overwhelming numbers. The aliens were not monsters. They looked almost humanoid, with 4 arms and armored exoskeletons. They moved with efficiency and precision. When human forces engaged them, the aliens won easily. Their weapons could punch through tanks. Their armor could stop bullets. Government after government declared ceasefires. Not surrender exactly, but agreements to cease hostile actions pending negotiations. It was surrender by another name. 72 hours after the invasion began, Commander Velrith broadcast another message. The planet Earth is now under Thoric administration. Designated representatives may present themselves for integration discussions. Continued resistance will result in harsh measures. In his flagship above Earth, Velrith watched reports from ground commanders. Everything had gone according to plan. Human military forces had been neutralized. Major population centers were secured. Some small groups continued fighting, but they were isolated and ineffective. "Commander, shall we begin resource extraction operations?" his tactical officer asked. "Not yet," Velrith replied. "First, we establish full control. These humans need to understand their place. Give them 1 week to accept the new order. Then we can begin." But in the mountains outside Seoul, Admiral Hyan met with other military leaders in a bunker that the aliens didn't know existed. The meeting included generals from every major nation. For the first time in human history, they were truly working together. "Our governments have stopped fighting," Hyan said. "But we have not." An American general nodded. "Our official military surrendered. But we have millions of veterans, police, and armed civilians who didn't get that memo." "The aliens think they won," said a Russian commander. "Let them think that." Hyan pulled up a map of Seoul. Red dots marked alien positions. "They control the government buildings and major roads. But they only have about 10,000 soldiers in the entire city. Seoul has 10 million people. They can't watch everyone." Dr. Hannah joined the meeting by video link. "I've been studying their technology. Their shields only work against fast-moving objects. Something slow, like a person walking, passes right through." "Suicide bombers?" someone asked quietly. "If necessary," Hyan replied. His face was grim. "We need every tactic, conventional and unconventional. These aliens think we're primitive. They think we'll just accept occupation. They don't understand us at all." Taiho, who had been listening silently, spoke up. "What do you need from us, sir?" "We need fighters who are willing to do whatever it takes," Hyan said. "The war isn't over. It's just beginning. But this time, we fight on our terms, not theirs." Across the planet, in occupied cities and hidden bases, similar conversations were happening. The aliens had won every battle. They controlled the cities. They had destroyed the military forces that opposed them openly. But Earth had 8 billion people. And humans had learned long ago how to fight enemies who were stronger and better armed. Guerrilla warfare, resistance. Persistence thought the aliens thought Earth had surrendered. They were about to learn that humans don't surrender. They adapt. Lieutenant Yuna crouched in the darkness of a Seoul subway tunnel, her team of 12 resistance fighters waiting behind her. Above them, they could hear the heavy footsteps of Thoric patrol units walking the streets. It had been 1 week since the ceasefire, and the aliens were getting comfortable. That was their first mistake. "The patrol passes every 20 minutes, whispered Dabin, her second in command. He was checking his watch. "We have 8 minutes. Yuna nodded. Her team wasn't official military anymore. Half of them were former soldiers like her. The others were civilians. A taxi driver, 2 university students, a construction worker, a grandmother who had fought in protests 40 years ago. The aliens had destroyed the military, but they couldn't destroy the will to fight. "Remember," Yuna said quietly. "Hit fast, grab what you can, disappear. No heroes today." They emerged from a maintenance hatch 3 blocks from the alien supply depot. The aliens had set up logistics centers in major cities, storing equipment and supplies. They were guarded, but not heavily. The Thorics believed humans were defeated. That was their second mistake. Yuna's team moved through back alleys they had known their whole lives. The aliens had maps, but they didn't know about the shortcuts, the hidden paths, the ways locals moved through the city unseen. 3,000 years of human civilization in Seoul meant there were secrets in every corner. They reached the depot. 2 Thoric guards stood at the entrance, their forearms holding advanced weapons. They looked bored. The grandmother, whose name was Mrs. Kang, walked up to them slowly. She was carrying shopping bags and looked confused. The aliens had translators built into their helmets. "I am lost," Mrs. Kang said in Korean. "Can you help me?" The guards tensed but didn't fire. Their orders were to avoid unnecessary casualties among cooperative civilians. As they approached to direct her away, Mrs. Kang dropped her shopping bags. The homemade explosives inside detonated. The blast wasn't strong enough to penetrate Thoric armor, but it was loud and bright. While the guards stumbled back in surprise, Yuna's team rushed past them into the depot. They grabbed anything they could: weapons, equipment, supplies. 30 seconds in, 30 seconds out, Mrs. Kang was already gone, disappeared into an alley. She had known exactly where to drop the bags to blow the guards back without killing herself. The aliens would find only empty streets when they recovered Dot by the time Thoric reinforcements arrived. Yuna's team was back in the subway tunnels, dividing their stolen goods. "This is good," Dabin said, examining an alien weapon. "We can figure out how these work." "Send it to Dr. Hana," Yuna ordered. "She's collecting alien tech." Similar attacks were happening across the city, across the planet. Not organized by any central command, but coordinated through hidden networks. The aliens controlled the internet and communications, but they couldn't stop people from simply talking to each other. In the mountains north of Seoul, engineer Jin Woo worked by lamplight in a cave system the military had built decades ago. During the Cold War, the aliens didn't know these places existed. Around him, a team of technicians and engineers were disassembling a Thoric fighter that had crashed during the initial invasion. "The propulsion system is incredible," Jinwoo muttered, studying the alien technology. They use gravitational manipulation instead of thrust. Can we copy it? Asked Woojin, a young aerospace engineer. Copy? No, not with our current technology. Jinwoo smiled grimly. But we can learn from it. And maybe we can use parts of it. They had been working for 6 days straight. The crashed fighter was yielding secrets slowly. The aliens used different physics principles than humans, but physics was physics. If something worked, humans could figure out why. Look at this, said another engineer, pointing to the shield generator. It cycles frequencies, but there's a pattern. If we could predict the pattern, we could time our attacks. Jinwoo nodded. Send that data to Dr. Hana. She's coordinating research. In Seoul, Dr. Hana receives streams of data from dozens of teams across the planet. Captured weapons, crashed ships, even stolen supply manifests. The aliens thought they had won, so they weren't being careful. Information was leaking everywhere. The shield pattern isn't random, Hana told Minho. It follows a mathematical sequence based on their computers. If we can crack the algorithm, we can predict when they're vulnerable. How long will that take? Weeks, maybe months. But we'll get there. Her computer pinged with new data. Another resistance cell had ambushed an alien patrol. 3 Thoric soldiers dead. The weapons had been recovered. Hana felt a cold satisfaction. The aliens had come to Earth expecting easy conquest. They were learning that humans didn't fight fair. Commander Velrith stared at casualty reports with growing frustration. In 1 week of occupation, his forces had lost more soldiers than in the entire invasion. The attacks came from everywhere and nowhere. Ambushes, bombs, sabotage, traps. These humans claimed they surrendered, Velrith said to his tactical officer. Why do they continue fighting? Their governments surrendered, Commander. But their populations did not. Then we need to make examples. Destroy the areas where attacks originate. Commander, that could be entire cities. Our orders are to minimize civilian casualties. Velrith's mandibles clicked in anger. These civilians are the casualties. They're all soldiers now. But destroying cities required approval from the Galactic Council, and Velrith knew that request would be denied. The conquest was supposed to be clean and efficient. Admitting that humans were defeating them through guerrilla tactics would be humiliating. So the Thorics tried to adapt. More patrols, better security, curfews, checkpoints. They tried to control the population, but Earth had 8 billion people. The Thoric occupation force numbered only 200,000 across the entire planet. For every soldier they had, there were 40,000 humans. And the humans knew their own planet in ways the aliens never could. In the occupied zones, life continued with strange normalcy. People went to work, children went to school, shops stayed open. The aliens wanted to show that occupation was acceptable, that life under Thoric rule was better. But at night, the resistance moved. Weapons were stolen. Supply lines were cut. Collaborators received warnings. Alien patrols disappeared. The Thorics controlled the day, but they could not control the darkness. Taeho, who had survived the initial air battles, now worked with a resistance cell near Incheon. His pilot training was useless without planes, but he knew military tactics. He helped plan ambushes and raids. We can't beat them in open battle, he told his cell during a meeting in a church basement. But we don't need to. We just need to make occupation impossible. Make them spend resources. Make them afraid. Make them regret coming here. How long can we sustain this? Someone asked. As long as it takes, Taeho replied. They have better weapons. But we have billions of people, and we're fighting for our home. They're fighting for resources they don't even need. Eventually, they'll realize this isn't worth it. Across the planet, resistance cells were coming to the same conclusion. This wasn't about winning battles. It was about making the cost of occupation too high. It was about survival through persistence. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had something else: the absolute refusal to accept defeat. Every human who died became a reason for others to fight harder. Every city destroyed strengthened the resistance instead of breaking it. The Thorks had conquered Earth in 72 hours, but holding it was proving impossible. And the humans were learning fast, getting better, adapting to alien tactics. In her lab, Dr. Hannah finally cracked the shield frequency algorithm. She sent the data to resistance cells worldwide. We can predict their vulnerabilities now. Time your attacks accordingly. The war was about to enter a new phase. 3 weeks after the invasion, Admiral Hyan stood in a command center deep beneath the Korean mountains. Around him, screens showed resistance cells from every continent. American generals, Chinese commanders, Russian officers, leaders from Africa, South America, Europe. All connected through a network the aliens couldn't detect because it used old technology, buried fiber optic cables from the Cold War era. Dr. Hannah has given us the key, Hyan said. We can now predict when their shields are vulnerable. But we need to coordinate. Hit them everywhere at once. Make them choose where to defend. Our nuclear arsenal is still intact, the American general reported. Buried in silos they haven't found. But those shields will be down for 0.3 seconds every 17 seconds, Dr. Hannah said, joining the video conference. It's not much, but it's enough. If we time the detonations perfectly, what about their orbital ships? Asked the Chinese commander. That's where Jinwoo comes in. Hyan replied. In his mountain workshop, Jinwoo put the final touches on something that shouldn't exist. It was a human fighter jet, but the engine had been replaced with components from crashed Thoric ships. The weapons were a hybrid, human missiles modified with alien power cores. It looks insane, Woojin said, staring at the hybrid craft. It is insane, Jinwoo agreed. The alien tech and our tech were never meant to work together. I had to invent completely new systems just to connect them. There's a 30% chance it explodes when we turn it on. And the other 70%? It might actually fly faster than anything in Earth's atmosphere. Maybe even reach orbit. Taiho arrived at the workshop that evening. He had been summoned by Admiral Hyan personally. When he saw the hybrid fighter, he understood why. You want me to fly that? Taiho asked. You're the best pilot we have left, Hyan said. And we need someone in orbit when we launch the counteroffensive. Taiho walked around the craft, examining it. It looked like a nightmare. Human frame, alien engines, weapons that glowed with strange energy. What's the mission? The Thoric flagship, Hyan replied. Velrith commands from orbit. If we take him out, their command structure collapses. One fighter against 500 ships? No, Hyan smiled. One fighter while 500 ships are busy with everything else we throw at them. The plan was audacious. Suicidal, really. But humans had built their entire history on audacious plans. For 2 weeks, resistance cells stockpiled weapons and supplies. Dr. Hannah's teams built special timers that could trigger weapons at the precise moment Thoric shields cycled. Jinwoo trained Taiho on the hybrid fighter, teaching him how to handle technology that barely worked. Meanwhile, a new resistance fighter joined the effort. Specialist Sora had worked as a translator before the invasion. She spoke 5 languages fluently. When the Thorics needed translators to help manage occupied zones, she volunteered. The aliens thought she was a collaborator. They didn't know she memorized every detail of their operations, their schedules, their security codes. The flagship commander, Velrith, broadcasts a daily status report. Sora reported during a briefing. He uses the same communication frequency every time. I know the encryption protocol. Can you send a false message? Hyan asked. Better, Sora smiled. "I can make him think his ground forces are in trouble. Make him drop his orbital shields to send reinforcements down." Everything came together on day 21 of the occupation. Dawn broke over Earth like any other day. Thoric patrols began their rounds. Soldiers prepared for another day of occupation duty. Then every resistance cell on the planet attacked at once. In Seoul, Yuna's team hit 3 supply depots simultaneously. The explosives were timed to detonate exactly when the shield cycled. The blasts tore through alien equipment that should have been invulnerable. In New York, Moscow, Beijing, London, Cairo, and dozens of other cities, the same thing happened. Ambushes, bombings, attacks on every Thoric position. The aliens scrambled to respond, but the attacks were everywhere. Underground missile silos opened across 5 continents. Nuclear weapons, modified with timing systems based on Dr. Hanna's calculations, launched toward Thoric positions. The aliens activated their shields, but the warheads were programmed to detonate during the vulnerability windows. Explosions lit up the sky. Mushroom clouds rose over what had been Thoric forward bases. The aliens' invulnerable shields meant nothing against perfectly timed attacks. Commander Velrith watched in horror from his flagship as his ground forces were systematically destroyed. Casualty reports flooded in. Thousands of soldiers dead in minutes. Supply centers obliterated. The humans had learned to counter their technology. "Commander, we're receiving distress calls from 15 major cities," his tactical officer reported. "Ground forces request immediate orbital support. Deploy all available ships," Velrith ordered. "Lower flagship shields and prepare to send reinforcements." It was exactly what Sora had predicted. She sat in a small room in occupied Seoul, listening to Thoric communications through stolen equipment. She sent a coded message. "The trap is set." In the mountains, Taiho climbed into the hybrid fighter. The cockpit was a mess of human instruments and alien displays. Jinwoo had tried to make it intuitive, but flying this thing would be pure instinct. "The engines are online," Jinwoo said through the radio. "Remember, the alien propulsion doesn't work like our engines. Think about where you want to go, and the system responds. Think about it." Taiho replied, "That's your technical explanation? I'm an engineer, not a psychic. Good luck." The hybrid fighter launched from a hidden mountain runway. It accelerated faster than any human aircraft in history. Within seconds, Taiho was above the clouds. Within a minute, he was at the edge of space. The Thoric flagship hung in orbit like a massive metal moon. Around it, hundreds of alien ships were descending to support ground forces. The flagship shields were down, all power redirected to launching reinforcements. Taiho armed his weapons. The missiles were human-made, but powered by alien energy cores. They would either work perfectly or blow him out of the sky. "For Earth," Taiho whispered, and fired everything he had. The missiles streaked across space faster than anything the Thorics expected. Their point defense systems tried to intercept, but the weapons were moving at speeds their computers couldn't predict. 6 missiles struck the flagship's bridge. The explosions were visible from Earth's surface. "Commander," Velrith's last thought was confusion. How had primitive humans done this? How had they learned so fast? How had they turned his own technology against him? The flagship began to break apart in orbit. Thoric ships immediately stopped their descent, turning to protect their command structure. But it was too late. The command chain was broken. On the ground, human forces pressed their advantage. Without clear orders from above, Thoric soldiers fell back to defensive positions. Some tried to fight. Others retreated to their landing zones. Within 6 hours, the counteroffensive had destroyed 60% of the Thoric ground forces. The remaining aliens were scattered, disorganized, and terrified. Admiral Hyan watched the battle reports with grim satisfaction. "Send the message to all Thoric forces. Leave now and you live. Stay, and you die. Taiho managed to pilot the hybrid fighter back to Earth, though it was smoking and barely functional. When he climbed out, Jinwoo was waiting. How was it? Jinwoo asked. Terrifying. Amazing. Insane, Taiho replied. Let's build 10 more. Across the planet, humans emerged from hiding. The aliens who had seemed invincible 3 weeks ago were now running for their lives. The invasion was over, but the war was just beginning. The Galactic Council chamber was silent. Every representative stared at the holographic display showing Earth. The numbers were impossible. Yet they were real. Of 500 warships, Mothara said slowly, only 47 returned to Thoric space. 200,000 soldiers deployed. Less than 30,000 survived. The conquest took 72 hours. The defeat took 3 weeks. Nobody spoke. The small Churin delegate who had warned against the invasion sat quietly, her 6 limbs folded. She felt no satisfaction in being right. How? Asked a delegate from the Anther Confederation. Humans had no faster-than-light travel. No energy shields. Their weapons were primitive. How did they destroy the Thoric fleet? They adapted, Mothara replied. They studied captured Thoric technology and integrated it with their own within days. They predicted shield vulnerabilities through mathematical analysis. They used guerrilla warfare tactics that the Thoric military had no protocols to counter. A hologram showed footage from Earth. Humans in makeshift armor attacking Thoric positions. Human aircraft that shouldn't exist tearing through the sky. Nuclear weapons detonating at precisely timed intervals to bypass shields. But more importantly, Mothara continued, they refused to surrender. Not as a species. Individual governments may have ceased fighting, but the population never stopped. Every human became a potential soldier. Every city became a battlefield. What is their current status? Another delegate asked, see for yourself. The hologram shifted to show Earth's orbit. Dozens of spacecraft were under construction. They were crewed by galactic standards, but they existed. Humans had gone from being planet-bound to building an orbital fleet in 3 weeks. They're reverse engineering everything they captured, Mothara explained. Our analysts estimate they'll have faster-than-light capability within 6 months. Maybe sooner? They're learning exponentially fast. What do they want? Someone asked nervously. To answer that, we've received a communication from Earth. They've requested to address this council. Shock rippled through the chamber. A species couldn't just request council audience. There were protocols, applications, requirements. It took decades to even be considered for contact. They've earned the right to speak, Mothara said firmly. We invaded them. They won. Now we listen. The hologram changed again. A figure appeared, dressed in a strange uniform that mixed military precision with civilian formality. It was Dr. Hana, transmitted from Earth in real time through captured Thoric communication systems. Greetings to the Galactic Council, Hana said in perfectly translated Galactic Standard. The humans had cracked that too. My name is Dr. Hana, Chief Science Advisor to the United Earth Defense Coalition. I believe you know why I'm here. You seek compensation for the invasion? One delegate asked. No, Hana replied. We seek membership. The chamber erupted in noise. Dozens of species talking at once. The idea was absurd. Earth hadn't even applied for contact status, let alone membership. Silence, Mothara commanded. The noise died down. Dr. Hana, you understand that council membership requires meeting specific technological, social, and diplomatic criteria. Earth does not qualify. We didn't qualify for invasion either, Hana replied calmly. Yet here we are. You made first contact by attacking us. You forced us to advance our technology by centuries and weeks. You united our planet against a common enemy. If we're advanced enough to destroy your invasion fleet, we're advanced enough to have a voice in this council. This is not how membership works, a delegate protested. Then perhaps the rules need to change, Hana said. You voted to invade Earth based on incomplete information. You assumed we were primitive and weak. You were wrong. Now you have a choice. Recognize us as equals and negotiate membership, or treat us as enemies and see what happens next. Is that a threat? Someone asked. It's a fact, Hana replied. We have your technology now. We're building ships. We're advancing fast. In 1 year, we'll have a fleet. In 5 years, we'll have colonies. In 10 years, we'll be a major power whether you like it or not. The only question is whether we do this as council members or as an independent force that you tried to conquer. Admiral Hyan appeared beside Hana in the transmission. Let me be clear. We don't want revenge. Most humans don't even want war. But we will never be victims again. We will never be prey. You taught us that the galaxy is dangerous. We learned the lesson. Another figure joined them, Captain Taiho, still in his flight suit. I killed Commander Velrith. I destroyed his flagship with hybrid technology we invented in 3 weeks. We're not asking for your permission to exist. We're informing you that we're here. Mothara studied the 3 humans. They were not aggressive, but they were absolutely firm. Earth had proven it could defend itself. Now it was demanding respect. The council will deliberate, Mothara said finally. You will have your answer. The transmission ended. The chamber immediately broke into heated debate. Some species wanted to reject Earth outright. Others wanted to send another invasion force. A few, like the Churin delegate, argued for accepting the humans. We created this situation, the Churin said. We voted to invade them. They defended themselves. Legally, morally, and practically, they have earned consideration. They're dangerous, someone argued. Of course they're dangerous, the Churin replied. We made them dangerous. Before the invasion, they were divided and focused on their own planet. Now they're united and looking at the stars. This is our fault. The debate lasted 3 days. In that time, Earth continued building. Humans didn't wait for permission. They salvaged Thoric ships. They constructed new vessels using captured technology. Every day, their fleet grew. Finally, the council voted. The result was close, but clear. Mothara transmitted the decision to Earth. The Galactic Council recognizes the sovereignty of Earth and humanity. We offer provisional membership status, pending formal diplomatic protocols. We also offer reparations for the invasion and formal apology from the Thoric Empire. On Earth, in the underground command center, Admiral Hyan and his command staff watched the transmission. What does provisional membership mean? Taiho asked. It means we're in, but on probation, Dr. Hana explained. We'll have observers, restrictions, requirements. They're not treating us as full equals yet. Is that acceptable? Hyan asked. For now, Hana replied. It gets us access to galactic databases, trade routes, and technology exchanges. We can work with it. And in a few years, when we've proven ourselves, we can demand full membership. Or just take it, Taiho muttered. Let's not make more enemies than necessary, Hyan said with a slight smile. We've made our point. 3 months later, Earth's first ambassador arrived at the Galactic Council. It was Taiho, no longer a fighter pilot but a diplomat. He wore a formal uniform designed specifically for this occasion, blending elements from every human culture as he entered the council chamber. Species from across the galaxy watched him, some with respect, some with fear, all with a new understanding. Humans were not primitive. They were not weak. They were survivors who turned every challenge into an opportunity to grow stronger. Taiho took his position in the newly designated Earth section of the chamber. Mathara acknowledged him formally. Ambassador Taiho, on behalf of the Galactic Council, we welcome humanity. May this mark the beginning of peaceful cooperation. Thank you, Council Leader, Taiho replied. We look forward to learning from the galaxy. And we hope the galaxy will learn from us as well. The Churn delegate approached Taiho after the session. I tried to warn them, before the invasion. I read your reports, Taiho said. You were right about us. I studied your history. Your species has survived extinction events, climate shifts, diseases, wars. You never stopped adapting. I knew you wouldn't stop this time either. So why did the Council approve the invasion? Arrogance, the Churn replied. They saw primitive technology and assumed primitive minds. They forgot that intelligence and technology aren't the same thing. Taiho nodded slowly. We won't forget that lesson. And I hope the galaxy won't either. On Earth, construction continued. The orbital fleet grew. Human colonies spread to the Moon and Mars, using captured FDL technology. Dr. Hanna led research teams that combined human ingenuity with alien technology, creating innovations that surprised even galactic scientists. Lieutenant Yuna became head of Earth's Special Operations Command, training forces in the guerrilla tactics that had defeated the Thorks. Her methods were studied by military academies across the galaxy. Engineer Jinwu opened the first Human-Alien Technology Institute, where humans and friendly alien species worked together to advance science. The Thoric Empire fell apart within a year. Their military was shattered. Their economy collapsed. Other species who had suffered under Thoric rule saw what humans had done and started their own rebellions. The Council never attempted another unauthorized invasion. Earth had taught them a lesson that echoed across the galaxy. Never underestimate a species based on their technology level. Never assume that primitive weapons mean a primitive will to survive. 5 years after the invasion, Earth had 50 colonies and a fleet of 200 ships. They weren't the largest power in the galaxy, but they were respected and feared.